Hello and welcome to my channel. Hi, I'm Wendy J. Haney. And boy, do I feel like I haven't been behind this camera getting a video done for you forever. Q1 of 2024 was a bugger. Have to fill you in sometime, but sometimes you just have to go with what your family needs, and that's the way it was. So I'm finally back. I'm going to show you today how to make this mountain border. Yes, this is not a traditional quilt block that most of you are probably searching for, but I have another quilt I need to get done for a raffle, and it has this beautiful mountain border, and I really need to get two things done at the same time. So that's what we're doing. Two birds, one stone. I was thinking though, this could be really great because I've taught you how to make a cardinal block and a tree block. So what the heck? You need a mountain for your cardinal and your trees to go into. A mountain border would be perfect for you to tie it all together. Here is our mountain border, at least one section of it. Then you just keep multiplying this and you can have a border of whatever you need. This actually is made up of two 6.5-inch blocks. They're just opposite of each other. If I lay them out right, each of these is 6.5 by 6.5. So I started to play with this and went, it's a 6.5 by 6.5 inch block. So if you didn't want a mountain border, you could actually play with this block, and actually it's two blocks. As you can see, they are opposites of each other. But you could play with this and do some interesting things with a 4x4 block. I don't know. I'm thinking you could do scrappy or same colors and come up with a really neat combination of 4 of these, 2 of each together. Okay, with that said, what you need is, because I'm going to show you how to make this one and this one. So your mountain needs both. So to make 2 blocks, you need background fabric. You need 2 6.5-inch strips, 2.5 by 6.5, 2.5 by 4.5, and 2.5-inch squares. And guess what? You need exactly the same for your back or your mountains. And you know what? This could be really pretty with, I don't know, a bluish background and a gray mountain. Hey, go with it. Go with what works for your pattern and the colors you're using. And as I said, if you're going to try using this for another block, I'm thinking I might need to do another video. Just thinking here. And anyway, your mountain, I've got my brown, 2.5 by 6.5. You need 2 of those, and somehow I lost one of these. You need 2.5 by 4.5 inch. So 6.5, 4.5, 2.5, 2 of each. There you go. And now we're ready to get started with making the block. Now we're ready to get started. Here is our mountain, which is consisting of a left-hand side block and a right-hand side block. Now we're going to work and do the left-hand side block. So for each block, you need 2.5 by 6.5 of your background and your mountain, 2.5 by 4.5, 2.5 by 2.5. Okay, and as you're going to see as I move through this and do the follow-up with the right-hand side block, it's all about the direction you're stitching your angle of these, and you will see that. So to start with, we are going to set these aside and grab a 6.5-inch strip of your mountain and a 2.5-inch strip of your background. We need to draw an angle corner to corner on your 2.5-inch square. And it doesn't matter because it's a square, and it's just a matter of which direction we put it on the other fabric. I always keep my ruler a tad down from the corner. You can't see it very well in the video, but a little bit so that there's room for my pen to get right in the corner. So it really is corner to corner. I, for this project, used my OmniGrid 6.5 inch square ruler. I love it because one, I've got my 6.5 inch, 4.5 inch, 2.5 inch. I can do all my cutting with this ruler, and it's got my angle so I can do my angles on my strips as I need them to be. And if you're doing a border and you need a lot of these blocks, check out the Stripology ruler. It is awesome for cutting your 2.5 inch strips very quickly. Okay, so then we're going to lay this. There's your mountain and your 2.5. And for your left-hand block, your angle is going to go lower left corner, upper right. That's key to remember. This is how we're going to lay out all of them for this block. So I'm going to go ahead and pin that. And in this case, we're going to stitch on the line. Everything in this project of this block, you're stitching on the line. Okay, so set that one aside. Grab both of your 4.5 inch strips, lay out your mountain, and in this case, your other strip is going to go vertical to it. And as I said, your angles are all going to be the same, lower left, upper right. So I like to lay it out first, and then I get my ruler out and I line up to the edge of my background fabric. Come on. To get my angle the right way. If I try and do this without laying it out this way first, I don't get my angle drawn right and whatever, then I mess it up, okay? Then get that situated on there nice and neat, lining up your edges. Pin that. And then your last one is taking your last 6.5 inch strip of your background and your 2.5 inch strip of your mountain. We're going to put an angle on this. And if you're doing a lot of these, go ahead and just get this angle drawn on all your 2.5 inch squares at the same time. It'll make life easier. So there's your 6.5 inch. And in this case, we're going to put this on the left side. And once again, orient it so your angle is lower left, upper right. And we're going to pin it. Oh, wrong pins. Okay, make sure so what you're going to have is for this left-hand side, this is what you're going to have. 6.5 inch background, mountain, 2.5 inch background, lower left, upper right. 4.5 inch for both, lower left, upper right. 6.5 inch background, mountain, 2.5 inch square, lower left, upper right. Now go stitch on the line for all of those. Then you're going to end up with these. And I've already pressed them. What you're going to do is then press them. I always press them first before I trim them up. At least, yeah, I press them really good. Make those nice and neat. Make sure you've got a good angle there and they're stitched right. That way you will catch any irregularities that you might need to adjust before you whack off the corners. Then you're going to go back and trim 1/4 inch away from your seam and whack off this little triangle. And then you're going to have all of these. As you can see, your angles are all the same. Then lay them out. So your angles are the right direction, and as you can see, mountain, 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 they get bigger, angles are all the same side, and you're going to sew all 3 strips together and then press to your right, and then lo and behold, you have the left-hand block of your mountain. Now we're going to go through and get the right-hand side done. we just finished the left side of our mountain, and now we're going to move on to doing the right side of the mountain. You're going to find it's very, very similar to the first one. Same concept, except your angles are going to be the opposite. And one other thing that I just got caught on when I did my last video, and I'm re-recording it. So I will point that out to you so you don't make the same mistake. Okay, what you're going to need, oh, I bet you guessed it. Yep, one of each, background and mountain, your 6.5 inch, 4.5 inch, and 2.5 inch squares. I have already marked the back of our 2.5 inch squares because I think you can figure out how to do that, and you did it before. Now we're going to take our background fabric, mountain fabric. Wow, I just can't get them right today. And you're going to take the background fabric and put your 2.5 inch square on it. The difference is you're going upper left, lower right. Okay, that's the direction you want to go. Okay, got that, pin that, get that ready to go. Here's the gotcha. Mountain, background, both 4.5 inch. In this case, the last one we did, we put it up here. We put it on the top. This time, you need to put it going down, and your angle's going to be upper left to lower right. So we're going to get out our Omni Grid ruler and our friction pen, and in this case, we're going to mark, we've got our line on the left-hand side of that background fabric to draw our angle in. Upper left, lower right, and you're going to get that situated on the mountain fabric right there. Remembering this case, your angle is opposite and it's going down. Yep, I ironed one and went, why is this not turning out right? That's why. So that way it's going to open up like that. So you have your middle mountain, okay? Got that, pin that one up, ready to sew. And then the last one is your background 6.5 inch strip and your mountain 2.5 inch strip. And you're going to put it on there with your angle. You guessed it, upper left, lower right. Okay, got all those pinned. You're going to take them to the sewing machine and you're going to stitch on the lines for all of those. And just like before, get them pressed, and you're going to press them and have this wonderful background, the rest of the fabric there. And so after I press them, that's when I come in. Because if you do the pressing first, you'll catch it like I did before you cut something off. And you'll catch it and go, I don't think this is right. And then you can fix it without a problem and redo it before you've whacked off a corner and cut your fabric and then it is of no good to you. So there we go. We're going to do that on all of them. Then you make sure, so now we have them all trimmed up. Lay them out. In this case, I put my tallest mountain on the left, followed by my medium. Your angles are all the same. And there you go. There is your right hand mountain. You're going to sew these strips together. There you go. You know how to do it. Get those strips sewn together. Then, once you've done that, then you've got your two mountain blocks, your left-hand side and your right-hand side, and now you're ready to put them together. And now you've got your 12-inch mountain strip. It's a block, it's just not square. And then you can make as many of these as you need. Biggest thing is when you're using this concept for a border is understanding the length that you need them to make it all fit. And with this, you could make adjustments to make your strips a little smaller if you needed, or shorter. Biggest thing is you need to do the math so your perspective is right. So each of these is a 2.5-inch strip. You could easily change that down to a 2-inch strip without any problems. and the concept would be the same. But if you started wanting a more narrow strip, well, then you'd have to do a little bit of math and figure out that it's a 6.5, a 4.5, and a 2.5. So there's a 2-inch difference between each strip. So I think you can kind of figure that out. There we go. I'm going to make a lot of these. I need 18 sets of these. But then I'm also going to come back here after I get a bunch of them done and show you what you can do with just 2 colors and laying them out to do a 12-inch block rather than do a border. So stay tuned if you want to see what I do with those. Well, I said that I was going to take our finished blocks and see what we could do with them other than creating a mountain border. Wow, there's some cool designs you could end up with. Let's assume we're starting with 2 of each. Okay, so I've got 2 of the left and 2 of the right. Okay, so let's see, if we start with that, those are that. So if we do opposites, so this is the left sides. It doesn't matter as long as you're doing the opposites. And whoops. There we go. Okay. That's rather boring, but it would work. Now what if I should have taken photos of the ones I did. What if we twist this? And if we do this, oh, there we go. Okay. There we go. I kind of like that. That'd be a really cool design. And obviously you could flip this. There you go. Do half and half. Yeah. Or flip it completely and get your light colors on the middle. If you went with, let's see, all of the same. So if you did 4 of in this case, it's 4 of the right mountain. That'd be kind of interesting. Yeah. Or flip it so you get your center all the same. Oh, that could work. Yeah. As you can see, if you want to start with 1 block, whether the left or the right, and play with it and see what you get with it, or create 2 of each, 2 of your left and 2 of your right, and start playing. You might really be surprised what you can do with one of the original if I get 2 of them that are opposites. There we go. If you get what you can play with a left hand and a right hand 6.5-inch block. It could be really cool how you could turn it into a nice 12.5-inch block with some really interesting things. With 2 different colors is what we're working with here, but hey, maybe go scrappy with it. So there you go. Lots of different ideas for ultimately a fairly basic and quick block. If you're doing strip cutting and strip piecing, and if you do your marking all at once, you can get this put together really fast, especially if you don't screw up with your angles, like I did a few times. There you go. I hope you found that helpful, and I'm so glad to be back getting a video for you. Take care and happy quilting.